Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Shinasa, please, can you share the meeting instructions I sent to you yesterday? Can you share it?
Okay. The meeting instructions.
Yeah, I sent to you on WhatsApp. Can you share it?
Yeah, let me share the meeting instruction.
Okay.
Number 1, do not share the
like share it on Zoom. Can you display it?
Okay, let me share. Yeah, is it? I'm trying to do that. Trying.
Okay, if you can't share it, let me share it myself.
Yeah, trying.
I need to know this too. Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, Princess, are you there?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so I think people have not joined in, so maybe let's wait till 11:02, Chinasa, then you start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sounds fine.
Good morning, everyone. For those of us just joining, we want to wait for an additional minute so people can join in. We'll start by 11:02. Thank you. Okay, so good morning once again, everyone. We are starting right about now, so I'm going ahead to mute everybody except the facilitators. Chinasa, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. I welcome each and everyone to this great impacting meeting. My name is Offor Chinasa. Uh, Before we proceed, I would like to introduce the amiable speaker of today, Chinyere Princess Offor. Miss Chinyere Princess Offor is currently a contract engineer with mobile producing Nigeria, a snowmobile. She has over 4 years industry experience spanning petroleum engineering and contract and procurement. She is a graduate of petroleum engineering from Covenant University, Nigeria, and obtained a master's in petroleum engineering and project development from the Institute of Petroleum Studies, Port Harcourt. She is a PhD candidate of petroleum economics management and policy at Emirate Energy Institute. She is very passionate about storytelling and giving back to her community. Dear Miss Chinyere, Princess of all, we are highly welcome to this great meeting. Hello?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chinasa. Thank you.
Okay, so
God bless you.
before Princess starts the presentation, Chinasa is going to be the facilitator for today, and I'll be assisting her. My name is Karen. So just briefly, let's go over the meeting etiquette. Please, while kindly mute yourself. Although I've muted everybody, try to make a conscious effort that you're muted. And then if you want to speak, you can use the raise hand option or make use of the chat section. Try to pay attention and please do not disrupt the meeting. I hope we get value from it. Princess, you can please share your slides now. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let me know if you're seeing my screen.
We can see it.
Yeah, we can see
Okay.
it.
Okay, so thank you very much. It's a privilege to be giving this presentation to the European Association of Geoscientists and Engineers, EGYP Nigeria. And really glad to have this opportunity to present on a topic maximizing internships. I'm sure it will be a most interesting time. So let's engage, let's ask questions and get the most from it. So just moving on, what does it mean to maximize internships? I would be talking about why. Why would you want to maximize internships? How can you do that? And then I would go on a recap session. So how many of us has eaten this morning? I have a food picture in front of me, but the goal is not necessarily whether you're eating or not. I don't know how many of us has started to cook before, maybe one interesting meal, and then your stomach is anticipating it, and then you realize that you have run out of gas, or maybe you've run out of matchsticks, or you've just run out of an essential ingredient. You can imagine how that is. Like, I've had that experience before. And imagine you cooking this wonderful, jollof rice, and then, you have to now look for that missing ingredient or start looking for gas so that it can get done. What will happen is that you'll be doing a disservice to your stomach infrastructure. So that brings me to the fact that, if you do not prepare to have a good career, if you're not prepared to maximize the opportunities that will come your way via internships, then you'll most likely be doing a disservice also to your career growth. You'll most likely be doing a disservice to your development goals. So why exactly should you maximize internships? That's because nobody will finish well by accident. So whatever it is you have as your plan, whatever it is you have as an aspiration, whatever it is you have as an ambition, you can only successfully arrive there if you're intentional about it, if you have a plan, if you are able to recognize the opportunities and make good use of it. So that is why it's important for us to maximize internships. And as much as this topic says maximizing internships, the tips that will be shared would be something that we can utilize in leveraging to have a successful career. So just moving on, it's very important that we know our industry. The society, it's a society for geoscientists and engineers. We may have other persons here who may be from any other industry, but it's very important that you know the industry that you are going to be exposed to, because what is an internship? An internship is usually like an engagement over like a period where you would be exposed to work, task that could give you the necessary knowledge, exposure, experience that you require on a particular subject. So with respect to the oil and gas industry, the oil and gas industry is divided into three major sections: upstream, midstream, and the downstream section. Upstream is exploration and production, from when we get the oil and gas resource from the subsurface where it is to the surface through the production facilities, we treat it. And then in the midstream, we store, we distribute it, transport it. And then downstream, it's going to get to a refinery where it's going to be separated into different fractions through fractional distillation. You can hear of refinery gases, diesel, kerosene, products that we can relate to it. And then we also have the petrochemical industry, where you can now have the chemical derivatives from it, and then usable products like your rubber tires, your nylons, fertilizers. So you can get all of that. And so that means that, when you're seeking an internship opportunity, you might be in any particular section of this industry. And then it's also important to know who are the players in this industry, who are the various stakeholders. So you hear of international oil companies, you hear of indigenous companies, you hear of the national oil companies, you hear of service companies. So these are various players that you may have the opportunity to work with. It may be where you have your internship. Now, just to move on quickly, how can you, maximize internships? We are in the how. Now, I've coined 4 words, or let me call it 4 letters. It is YASS, Y-A-S-S, and then we'll get to know what each means. But it literally means you, attitude, the S means skills, and the second S means steps to take. Now, why am I focusing on you? Because you are the major driver of your career. You are the major driver of your goals. You are the one who has to be intentional. And so it's very important that you know that you are the one playing the role, in as much as you would be exposed to different opportunities. You are the one who has to recognize it and play that role. So you are the first player in your internship journey. And what does this mean? At some point that I have to share under you is you need to become self-aware. And why do I say that? You need to know, where are you heading to? because where you are heading to will determine the steps you begin to take. It will determine the network you begin to build. It will determine what your eye will begin to recognize. So be self-aware as to what you want for yourself and how you want to show up. It's important that you have values, and this is very key, because when I begin to talk about attitude, your values actually will determine the habits that you create. Your values will also determine the attitude that you begin to express, and that has to do with you. So please, develop self-respect for yourself, because those opportunities will come. You would, in an internship, and as with every engagement you would have to interact with persons. So just as about the amount of value you give yourself is the same value that others will express towards you. And build reflection times, be authentic. While you are going to be taking on internships, you may meet rejections. It's same as when you're applying for jobs. So have the right perspective when you hear a no, or when you're rejected, or when some persons will say you get like that love letter that says we cannot progress with this, we don't have enough opportunity here. So have the right perspective towards no challenges, towards rejection. Now, with respect to, and now moving ahead, right timing, attitude. So there are skills that will take you far, but in as much as the skills, the experience, the opportunities you will get, would give you room, the attitude that you present is what will sustain you, because it's quite a very small industry and it's quite a very small world. And some persons that you interact with today, you may have to interact with in the future, maybe as future colleagues, maybe as, those may be persons who will have to write you reference letters. Those may be persons who would have to be business partners with you. And those may be persons who would have to recommend you. So the attitude that you're going to display really matters a lot. And some attitudes which are in front of me is the attitude of being responsible. You need to be responsible, and you need to own whatever it is that you are given. While you're on an internship, and even while you're on a job, you need to ensure that you are responsible for the tasks. You need to take initiative. Many of those things that we'll write on our CV, we'll write in our cover letters, we'll write in our, or we may have to say when we're, having interviews, we have to actually display it. So be responsible, be helpful, be a team worker, be pleasant, be honest. I have other attitudes which you need to have: respect for others. You always have to work with people. So respect other people. You'll be, while you're working with persons, you may meet persons who do not have, same qualifications as you. You may have, better degrees, but they possibly know that job role that you are being assigned to, and you need to learn from them. So you need to demonstrate that respect for others, be willing to learn and ask questions. Many times you may be, exposed to jobs where you don't know anything about it. And when you're given those opportunities, you need not fret. All you need to do is, what is expected for me in this situation? What is required? What is the expectations? What is my company trying to achieve? What am I trying to solve? And then you ask all those relevant questions that will enable you to now take on the task. Be teachable, be daring. Sometimes, you may have to, take up internship in places where you're not familiar with, a different cultural environment. For example, when I did my internship, that was sometime in 2012, it was at Mobile Producing Nigeria in Eket, Akwa Ibom. That was my first time of being in Akwa Ibom State. And so sometimes you hear conversations even in the language, and if you want to be a part of the team and still ensure that you learn, sometimes you dare to even learn a few things in their language so that you can communicate well. Sometimes you might find yourself For example, if you're a lady, you might find yourself amidst so many men, and then you can't say this is just for men. Or, if you're a man and then, you find yourself in a situation where, most times you may think maybe HR is more of a female role, but then you have to work in situations that you're not used to. So be daring, be punctual, be available, display a great work ethic, take initiative, seek opportunities, and make sure you're resourceful. You may look at yourself and wonder, what do I have to give? You can get into a particular internship and they are requiring persons who will collate things, who will be the ones that take minutes, take minutes of a meeting, because those are little things that people don't see, roles that they can play that makes you valuable, that makes when you're absent, your presence, can truly be acknowledged. So there are little ways in which you can be resourceful. There are things that that you can exhibit that would help you. So that is about attitude. Now we are going to be moving to skills, and there are skills that would help you. Now there are various type of skills. There are technical skills, your normal hardcore skills that you can gain through whatever, education or specific training that you have. For example, as a drone scientist, you may know about things that have to do with geology, geophysics. You may have gone for various field trips. You know how to do characterizations, reservoir characterizations. You may know how to do outcrop analysis. Those are various skills that you can have, like hardcore technical skills. But there are also skills that help you, such as soft skills, skills that enable you. It helps shape how you work and how you interact with others. And most times you hear these skills represented as, skills that have to do with emotional intelligence. And this brings me back to something I mentioned under you. To be emotionally intelligent, you have to be self-aware. You also have to be aware about others, and you need to know how to relate with people, how to build relationships, because relationships are very valuable. Now, there are other skills such as functional skills and also digital skills. So functional skills are skills that you can transfer to different work settings. For example, your organizational skills, and I usually use this example. The person who will be moderating or facilitating, this particular webinar, knowing how to coordinate during virtual meetings, know how to coordinate even in normal physical meetings, engaging, like maybe event planning or just organizing teams. Organizational skill is such a skill. Your writing skills, we cannot understate that. If you're an undergraduate or even a graduate, you may have to make presentations also. So your presentation skills, they are skills that will set you apart. There are also skills such as entrepreneurial skills. And then when it comes to digital skills, these are skills that can enable you to evaluate, to create content, to analyze content. And so you can learn how to program, you can learn how to analyze data analytics, and then you can learn how to present data visualization. Because at the core of it, when you're in an internship and you're given a particular task, and they ask you, okay, make a business case for this, for example, you will need to be able to present the data in such a way that the persons who should make decisions with that data can quickly make decisions. They know, okay, what is the consequence of, the decisions we'll make? Is it going to bring us profit? Is it going to help us minimize costs? Is it going to help us in terms of safety? Is it going to help us achieve any particular objective? And then, it's very important that you can present data, visualize that data, you can analyze it and really organize it for them to be able to make the right decisions. And it's also important that, simple computer literacy skills as to how to use Microsoft Word, how to use Microsoft Excel, how to use Microsoft PowerPoint. And then while you're on your internship, there may be various softwares that you could be exposed to. I have not given any list of softwares here, but there could be various softwares that, have to help you with the particular job you're doing. There are various softwares that we use in the oil and gas industry that you could be exposed to. So those are still proficiencies that you can build. Now, a very important part are the steps to take. What are the steps that you should take? Because we have heard about you play the major role. We have heard about attitude. We have heard about skills. And what are now the steps that you should take to maximize this internship? Now, it's important for you to know that, internship opportunities are open to undergraduates. It's not only an undergraduate who is in his 400 level that will take an internship. They're open to graduates. Sometimes, maybe prior to getting a job or prior to, pursuing a postgraduate studies, or even while pursuing a postgraduate studies, you may be required to take an internship. Or maybe you are, transitioning careers. You're trying to move from one industry to another, or you're just trying to increase the opportunities you're exposed to. There are various options where you may say, okay, let me opt for an internship so that I can get the experience, the knowledge, and the exposure that I need. So, internships are not just limited to undergraduates. Now, what can you do either pre-internship, during your internship, or post? And the first thing I'll say is do your research. Do your research as to, I already alluded to the fact that you have different aspects of the industry, upstream, midstream, downstream. So it means that when you want to take an internship opportunity, do your research as to, where you should be applying to, what are the various companies, what are the various opportunities. And something which I'll later mention is, right now, with the advent of COVID, virtual internships are an option. So do your research as to, if I cannot get normal physical internships this period, can I also get virtual internships? So do your research, apply for as many internships as possible in many companies. Do not say I would only, apply in an international oil company. There are service companies, there are national oil companies, there are indigenous oil companies. So, apply for internship in as many companies. Write your CVs if you don't already have. I want to believe that we all have CVs, but that's an assumption. So package your CV in such a way that it will get you into where you want to get to. That is because most of these opportunities are competitive and you are not the only one looking for it. So package your CVs. If you require writing cover letters, you have to write cover letters for those opportunities, and gladly we'll be having a very short CV and cover letter review session. Now, improve your visibility. Many of the opportunities that you'll be seeking may not be advertised, and some opportunities may just come through your network. So improve your visibility online, improve your visibility by networking more. I used to say this: Google your name, for example, what appears about you. Because sometimes when you submit your CVs and your cover letters, you may have recruiters check you out online, and what are they going to see? So improve your visibility and then determine how you want to show up, right? Do not be the type of person that when they check you out, you'll be associated with something that is not fully representative of the kind of image you want to be portrayed of yourself. Update your LinkedIn profile. If you do not have a LinkedIn profile, then update your link, then create one and update it with the experience that you have. And in case you think that, I'm an undergraduate, I have not worked in anywhere, not all your experience will be a paid employment or something official. Your experience, even with what you do in school, your experience with, places you have volunteered, those are also valuable experiences. Personal branding, that has to do with, how you show up. volunteer. That's a very good opportunity to build networks. That's also a very good opportunity for you to get to know of, opportunities that may not be advertised. Volunteer, expand your network, participate in your EAG events. Sometimes in these events that hold on, companies may be doing recruitment sessions or offering internship sessions, and then you get to know about it and be a part of it. Now, while you're in your internship, in some places, you may be assigned a mentor, but just in case you're not assigned a mentor, seek for somebody who is more experienced there, who can, put you through, give you guidance as to this is how the company operates and these are the expectations. And this is even how to maybe work with various types of persons, because many environments that you may be exposed to may be new, and you will just need somebody to give you a feel of what that environment is all about and how to successfully navigate that experience. Seek like-minded associations while you're there. Seek persons that can positively influence you while you're there, right? I talked about self-respect. Do not find yourself in uncompromising situations. Don't be in an internship and then be the one who will be associated with things that are against the ethics of that organization or company. Don't be caught in fraud. Whatever it is that is the ethics of that particular organization, then please, seek to abide by it. Understand the organization, understand the organogram. So you may work in places that are very organized, or sometimes you may be in places that, the structure may not be so clear. What you need to understand is, who do you report to? Who oversees your work? Who is supervising you? So that you know the hierarchy of communication. You don't have to overstep your boss on certain things and now move to another boss, and then it looks like, you are going beyond what is asked of you. So when you get into a particular place, even if it is not stated, try to understand what the hierarchy is, what the organogram is, and then also know what the expectations are of you. Engage your bosses, engage your lecturers. If you're an undergraduate, engage your lecturers, as to what are the expectations while you're in internship. Even if you are a postgraduate, you can engage even your advisors, your supervisors. And then as a young professional, you can even engage professionals in the field you are developing in, to ask them, what are critical skills I should develop? What are things I should look at, building? What are the things I need to learn? Let me give an example. You're a young geoscientist. You can have a geoscientist mentor and say, okay, what are the things I need to learn at this particular stage? And being exposed to an internship in this opportunity, what are the things I should look to position myself to participate in? So you ask those questions, and that helps you and puts you on the right track. What else should you do? Please, have the right email etiquette. When you're going to be sending out your CV and your cover letters, know how to address persons well. I cannot underestimate, knowing how to communicate well. Embrace an unfamiliar environment. Very key point I'll be sharing now is cybersecurity. Many of the organizations you may be working with, you may be dealing with proprietary data that shouldn't get into the hands of maybe competitors or anyone who can use it, negatively. So know how to be able to secure, what you're working with, and so that your company is not exposed. Your company is not exposed even to theft of the valuable information that they have. Don't expect any special treatments. Just be ready to work, right? Don't say I'm from a particular place, I'm a particular gender, I should be treated this particular way. Just be willing to put in the work. And you can keep an IT journal. It helps so much. You should be able to track your progress. This is what I chose to do. This is the opportunities I chose to embrace. And this is how far I am in this journey. So you can keep an IT journal, because many of the things you are learning, you may have to fall back on it in years to come, or maybe utilize it to solve a particular problem. So keep an IT journal. Then I have some extra tips here which I will share from persons, that, decided to lend their voice to this. So Tokwe says that, while on internship, train your mind to act and deliver like a full employee. And that speaks to ownership mindset. Understand who you directly report to, be consistent and be punctual. These are attitudes that will separate you. Chukwuka says that it's not about just gathering information, because many times we think, an internship will only, give us the opportunity to learn. It will give you the opportunity also to contribute. So it will be a win-win for both you and be a win-win also for the organization. Aku says, when it comes to relating with people, learn to be loyal, be trustworthy and have this empathy. That way you can always put yourself in other people's shoes and know how to, relate with them. Principal says that while you're in a dilemma of, maybe you've secured internship from various good companies and you're wondering, okay, should I pick the one that pays me the most? Rather, pick the ones that will give you the most exposure and experience. And then Karen also says that, maximize opportunities on LinkedIn, build network, consider virtual internships. And then, there are various companies you can be exposed to. And so, apply to as much as you can. Now, I would stop here before proceeding to the CV and cover letter review session. I would like to just take a few questions before, I decide to review the CV that were sent and a cover letter, so that we can have practical tips on what we can do, with respect to the opportunities we're seeking. So Chinasa, can you coordinate this? Seems you're on mute.
Chinasa, you're muted. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, I've done that.
Okay.
So from the questions session, I have, let me come. I'm not seeing any questions here.
Okay, so there are currently no questions, Princess. Maybe you should go ahead with the cover letter review session. I'm sure questions will come from that area. So let's just go ahead. Yeah. Thank you, Chinasa. Thank you, Princess.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to be reviewing one CV and one cover letter. And just so that, after this session, if you know that your CV is not up to date, you go and update it, so that once you begin to apply, you can get the opportunity you want. And sometimes you may be required to submit a cover letter. And so you would know, basic things that you can put in a cover letter. So I would start from the cover letter, and I appreciate the person who sent in this cover letter so that we could review it. So this person was applying for a job for the position of a field engineer in Schlumberger, and the person had previous experience as a technical sales engineer, and then the person also stated the willingness to relocate and other skills that the person had. Now, what can we add to this cover letter, or what extra thing? Now, one of the questions I asked when I got this cover letter is, so usually when you're going to be possibly applying for an internship opportunity or even probably a job, um you know, if the opportunity already gives like a description, maybe a description of who should apply, you can try to tailor your cover letter to the description. Now, I will just work with this scenario because it's a job scenario. But usually, yes, you would put your address, you put who you are sending that cover letter to, and then you put application for example, the position of a graduate intern or position for internship, if that were the case. And then if it's an internship, you can basically talk about, so in your first paragraph, you can introduce yourself, talk about the academic experience you have, and then if it's a particular company that deals in certain services or certain operations, then, you know, if all the experience you have is just limited to, you know, your academics, then you can talk about the fact that you got interested. So if I were to use Schlumberger, the Sun BJ also offers, is a service company, and it offers drilling services, offers reservoir engineering. They also provide even tools and equipment. So if you were maybe applying for internship in a particular role, or particular department, or just generally, then you can state that, you know, while you were in school, you were exposed to so and so topic. So, you know, you were exposed to drilling engineering, you were exposed to reservoir engineering, and then you can actually go in depth into the specific, you know, name of the topic. You know, did you do something that natural gas engineering? Did you do reservoir geology and geophysics? And that way, you know, you can now tailor the fact that you have interest in what they do based upon, you know, what you were exposed to in school. Now, if your experience is beyond just your academics, then you can pick out, you know, parts of what you have been exposed to, you know, outside of your academics. For example, this person says, I have 2 years oil field based experience as a technical sales engineer in this and this domain. Now, the extra thing I would have, you know, loved to be added here, and we'll see it in the next one, is I had asked this person for his CV, and I said, okay, you know, what are the things you have done in the well intervention domain that relates to what Schlumberger does and what they are requesting for in the field engineer? So you can just match, you know, the job description for a field engineer, and then you look at the experiences you have had, and then you can, you know, try to align them and state, okay, you know, via my technical sales engineer role in this particular company, I was exposed to so and so projects, you know, we organized this, we achieved this, and then you state that, because so many persons will be submitting cover letters. And I usually say, what would you put that would make you stand out if they had to read so many cover letters? For example, in Nigeria, you know, if you're having like 1,001 cover letters, what's going to make you stand out? So try to match the job description, and then, you know, match the experience you have, and then now be able to align it, because nobody knows you yet. So you need to be able to sell yourself, you know, using your cover letter. Something extra which I like in the third paragraph is, you know, it talks about organizational skills and other skills. And remember, we talked about skills. So let me give you an expo as to what I used to put in my own cover letter. For example, via volunteering, I volunteer with the Society of Petroleum Engineers. And via volunteering, I have had the opportunity to build leadership and communication skills. I have worked in teams where we even, you know, created magazines, created articles, did interviews, and, you know, organized things. So you know what I would do? I would now say that, you know, via volunteering in so and so organization, you can also state via your, you know, work or volunteerism in so and so organization, I have built this and this skill. And what I will now do is, for example, you know, if we have created an article that is online, I will just put the link to that article, or I'll just put the link to that work. That makes you stand out, because if somebody reads it, oh, this person, okay, this person has done more than just the normal, maybe academic or technical roles, then the person can see what more there is to you, and then kind of give you an opportunity. And then this person also say, I've attached my resume. I'll be grateful if I receive a call up. Thank you for finding time. Well, there are better ways of even saying this, but yes, some of the things I would do is I go look up that company. I go look up the company. What does the company want to achieve? Many companies have a mission. They have a vision statement. So, for example, if a company says meeting the world energy demand, I will just end that last paragraph saying, I look forward to being a part of your company meeting the world energy demand. You're saying something that kind of resonates with the company and what they stand for and what they want to achieve. And so, all these tips are just tips that should help you set yourself apart. So to recap on this, cover letter side, the cover letter is, most times it's just like a letter. You have the opportunity to introduce yourselves within, one or two paragraphs, introduce your academic experience, introduce your work experience, introduce even your experience that you have gotten via volunteering or whatever you have been exposed to. So be able to state all those skills that we talked about. And that means now you need to be intentional about the skills that you're building. Assess yourself. What are the skills you currently have? And what are the ones you need to build, right? And then I talked about the fact that look at if there's a description, a job description attached to that internship role or job role, then be able to tailor your experience to match that. And then you can always end in an appropriate way, and when you send it, good email etiquette, be able to. So sometimes when I send out emails, I'm not just going to say, dear sir or ma, find my CV or find my cover letter attached. I put a little thing in the body that helps them want to go and read, because just in case they are tired of reading a couple of CVs and cover letters they have come across. You can put something in the body that says, okay, I've been exposed to so and so skills or so and so roles, and I trust you'll find me a fit candidate for whatever position you're applying for. And then that way, it can just make them, okay, let me even find out what this person is talking about. So here it is about this cover letter. And you know that your cover letter, you can always tailor it. It is not usually a one size fits all. You can have different cover letters for different roles. And let me give you a quick tip. What I used to do is I have a folder of all the places I applied to. Because sometimes you apply to a place and you totally forget, and they call you out of the blues, and then you even are wondering, what exactly was what did I apply for, right? And so I keep a folder of all the places I applied to. If there's a job description, I put it there. Whatever document I submitted, I put it there. So that way, if I'm called, I can quickly relate to, what I submitted, what was the job description. And then if there's going to be an interview, I can prep myself. And then I now store the soft copies of all these documents in my email. Why? Because sometimes you see an opportunity and you need to quickly apply. And some opportunities do not necessarily close at a deadline. They close when the inbox is full or when they have gotten sufficient amount of applicants. So you want to quickly, okay, you see maybe a particular, internship position or role that looks like something you have applied for before. You can quickly pick up, a soft copy of that you have prepared and tailor it to it and then quickly apply. So that will be that on this person's cover letter, and just looking at his CV. Now, these are, certain experiences that he had that should be picked up from this CV and summarized into the cover letter where he talked about his technical sales engineer role, so that, it can show that there is a great connection between what he's applying for and, the experience he has had. Now, moving on to, this is or CV to review. Now, in your normal CV, you would have your name, you have your contact information. Please have have a good email address, right? Don't have an email address that says, I can imagine, but some email address can totally throw some persons off. Maybe the email address says almostsexy@yahoo.com or something. If you do not already have, you know, an official email address that represents you well, please have one. Some email addresses may have been opened while we were much younger and didn't know, the right names to have. So you would have your contact information there, your phone numbers, have phone contacts that you can actually be, you can be reached on. And then, so sometimes you may need to have an objective there, but an objective it's not a mandatory section of your cover letter. Well, because there are things you want to quickly put out for the recruiter to look at. So what's really important, what if your recruiter was going to spend, few minutes on your CV or only going to look at the first page, ensure that, how you organize it and what you put out quickly attracts the recruiter to what, they require. So your experience, your academic, your academic experience, your bachelor's degree, your postgraduate degree, whatever it is, you can put it there. And then something to point out when it comes to experience, if I were to use this, is know how to quantify and qualify your experience. Like, so if I were to pick this person's own at Brightest Hope Company Limited, it says key account manager of the business unit. What does that mean? What did you achieve? What does it mean to be a key account manager? What were you responsible for? And what was the value created from what you did? Now, know how to quantify and qualify. And I want to use a very simple example I used somewhere. So let's imagine you're an undergraduate or you don't have so much experience, and maybe you know how to make cakes. And then once upon a time you were called in maybe an organization, or you were called in your church or your mosque to come and teach persons how to make cakes. And you'll be surprised that is cake making or cake baking, is it an experience? Well, it is an experience, right? And if you are called to come and teach persons, somebody can write it as, so how many persons did you teach? So let's say you taught 10 persons, and that's why I said quantify and qualify. So you taught 10 persons to build what? Cake baking skills. Now, how do you qualify it? What was the impact of your teaching? Now, you taught 10 persons to build cake baking skills, thereby enabling them to be self-sufficient or self-reliant and contribute to their society. Now, the value in that is that, one, you taught persons. You taught 10 persons. It's a lot of work to even teach one person. Now talk about teaching 10 persons. With teaching 10 persons, you need to, organize things. You need to manage the persons, and then what was now the value of what you taught? Now, by them getting those cake baking skills, they can be self-reliant. They don't have to depend on somebody for money, and then they can contribute to their environment. So back to this example in front of us, liaise with, for example, the fourth point under this first experience here says, liaise with government regulatory bodies or renewal of licenses and certificates of operation. What will be the consequence if you don't have certificates of operation? You need to be able to qualify that. So, for example, sometimes you may be able to state, the exact regulatory bodies you liaise with. Was it DPR? Was it what bodies? Was it an environmental and safety body? What body exactly? Because sometimes just because you have like a connection, or just because you have had previous experience with these bodies, it may be an opportunity for somebody to say, okay, we're looking for somebody who can do this in our company. Now, if you don't have those renewal, or if you don't have those licenses, right, it means if there are certain jobs, you may not be able to bid, the company may not be able to bid for those jobs, where they tell them to submit their tender documents, and part of the requirements in the technical evaluation criteria is that you should have social license that is valid up to a particular year. If they don't have it, then they can maximize those opportunities. So be able to qualify and quantify, and that's what I mean. And so that makes you stand out. Or what did you achieve? Did you enable your company reduce costs? Did you enable your company meet its safety objective? Now, this thing I'm mentioning is not only something you only use on your CV. It will help you if you're even working a job, because if you're working a job, you'll be subjected to appraisals. And even while you're on your internship, probably before you leave a particular company, they may require you to present what you have done. Now, if they don't require you, ask for the opportunity. Tell them, sir, ma, I would like to present all that I've learned during this period and all I've contributed. Now, when it now comes to, stating out your contribution, qualify it and quantify it. So if they were meant to remember somebody who passed through the organization, who they need to bring back, who will be a value adding member of the team, they would remember you for good. So there are other things to note, grammatical errors. There is a way to present, your cover letter that makes it look attractive. I will leave that to us to do, but I believe these are like key points that, after we leave here, if we go and effect them, they should enable us put our best foot forward. So with this, I would recap. I would say that, it's been a very wonderful opportunity talking about maximizing internships. And we talked about the fact that if you do not prepare, if you're not intentional, then, it's not going to happen by accident. You'll be doing a disservice to your career growth. And we talked about how. The how was with respect to an acronym, yes, where why, you play the major role. The A is the attitude you should have. We talked about being responsible, having an ownership mindset, being daring, being teachable, respecting others. We also talked about skills that you should have. We talked about technical skills, soft skills, functional skills, and even digital skills. And then we now talked about also the steps you should take, like, applying to as many companies, crafting your CV and cover letter well, being intentional as to how you want to show up and increasing your visibility. And something I'll leave here is that, every company is obligated to ensure that they have a safe operation. So one of the things, you can decide when you enter a company is, how about before I leave here, I become a safety champion? What do I mean? Look at what your company does and how can they do it safely. It could even be as little as, if you get into an environment where, safety tips are not being shared. I remember one of the internships that I had, I took it upon myself to be finding out, safety tips and sharing them at our meetings. And that was something that my boss recognized. So there are various ways that, you can contribute, but know that an internship opportunity is a win-win. It should be a win-win for you, and it should be a win-win for, whatever organization you're working with. And so that means you would learn, you would contribute, and then to do all this, you must be intentional about it. So I would now, begin taking questions. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Miss Chinyere. I still don't see that there is any question on this question box. No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I have a question. Uh, Thank you very much, Princess, for the presentation. My name is Karen, and just to all the participants, if you have a question, you don't want to chat, you want to voice over, you can raise your hand or indicate in the chat box and we'll unmute you to speak. So back to my question, Princess, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. I learned so much, gained so much insight. But my challenge is for people that have so much on their CV. So there is normally the myth that your you should limit your CV to one page rather, if you're a fresh graduate, and to 2 pages if you have below 3 years work experience. So I remember when I first initially graduated from school, my CV could not contain one page with font size 10. I mean, that's very tiny. My CV could not contain everything could not be contained in a page. And then I still had people telling me that you still have to streamline it, look for a way to streamline it, until I met someone that said, I mean, it is what it is. If you have done so much and what you have cannot be confined in one page, with all due respect, peel over. So I want to know your thoughts on that. That's the first question. Secondly, so the CVs that were displayed today, they had up to five, six bullet points for for the role descriptions, right? Yes. So in one of them, I'm seeing up to 10 bullet points. And I remember I went for a CV review session sometime in this year, like 2 months ago. And the lady said, when you're sharing your CV, the first page basically is all the recruiter might look at. So you want to try to catch their attention. So you want to highlight most of your successes as much as possible. And of course, we know that
Mhm.
at this stage, those successes might not be embedded in your job responsibilities, right? So she mentioned that you might want to use a lot of action words and capture everything in one or two bullet points, especially if you've worked in many places. Like myself, I've worked in 4 places already. So you want to have, imagine if I have 10 of these job descriptions for the 4 different places. I mean, that's 4 pages of CV already. So I just want to know your thoughts on to these two different suggestions.
Okay. Thank you very much, Karen, and really good question. So, with respect to the amount of pages, so there is a resume and there is a cover letter. Your resume, is usually if you don't have so much experience, and yes, it can be limited to one page. So that is why it depends on what is the intent of, where are you submitting that CV to. So people submit CVs for internships, for jobs, for even, postgraduate applications. So, that could determine, how many pages. Now, if you have so much experience, even if you're a recent graduate, nothing stops you from having a 2 page or maybe even 3 page CV. But I would say that, have they given guidelines as to what you should submit? If they have told you you have to submit just a 1 page, then you need to restrict it to 1 page. And so one of the things you want to utilize, you want to utilize space. For example, I see that on this CV in front of me, you may have to use text box to shift, instead of just when you write things, they just stay on the line. You may have to use text box to position it. Now, this comes to me saying that you need to quantify and qualify the experience you have. And truly what you said, the first page actually matters because, so when you write all of this now, I want to see what was the impact. What was the impact? So if I were to pick one, I can see it's just at the bottom, manage email and social media page for customer engagement, awareness, and marketing. What was the impact of managing it? Did you have more clients? Did you have an improved visibility? did it result in more business opportunities? And so you may have done so many things that can be lumped into, for example, so let me see how I can summarize, so I can even summarize. So I can summarize, I see lead generation via business events, um, presentation, negotiation of proposals with existing and prospective clients. Like, I can lump those three. And let me say, so let's say, and this is hypothetical. So what did it, let me imagine that it led to, you having a job with a prospective client, or you ended up landing a job that was maybe above, if you cannot give the exact figure, a job with a return of above 50,000 US dollars. So let me now lump those three. I'm lumping lead generation, presentation, manage email, blah. Okay, um, so generated above $50,000 worth of returns, and improved companies' visibility through targeted, media strategies, client engagement, and I just lumped, all the social media and email through targeted media strategies, client engagement, and then business improvement processes. And then that is, you have already shown that first you brought value to your company. This is the worth of the value you brought. And then maybe they were, intending prospective clients that they have not even become clients that you're working with, but then you have now even gotten opportunity to sign up as a vendor with them. Then you can also state that there. So if you have all these so many information on your CV, after you have written it all out, now sit down and you can summarize it. But like I said, at the back of your mind, quantify and then qualify. What is now the impact? Like, is it resulting in, most companies, they are not an NGO, right? They are here to make profit. So is it resulting in, are they making profit? Are they minimizing cost? Are they having improved processes? Are they having better safe operations? All those things that are even generic to every company that they want to achieve. And so that it quickly stands out. And if you cannot give direct figures, then you can give, like, that's why I said, for example, if you, let's say it was a $500 worth of contract you got, and you cannot state $500, you can just say above 400,000 or above. And so qualify it, attracted 16 new prospective clients. Let's see, what else can we summarize? I can summarize in this person's CV, I can summarize liaise with government regulatory bodies on renewal of licenses. I can summarize it with the information on the last line, represent manager, and all this, because I can see some even government bodies here. So when you talk about liaise with government on renewal, so you are maybe a liaison officer or a go-between between your company and government bodies and other prospective clients. So, and what was now the impact of doing that? So to be able to enhance continued business operations and profitability of your company, you liaise with various regulatory bodies for renewal of licenses and various stakeholders that would, and like I said, continued, I'm just assuming that that's what the person is doing, but I said continued, improve or have continued business operations and profitability. And so, you are doing that by liaising with regulatory bodies. You are doing that by liaising with, whatsoever stakeholder or company that is involved in that particular operation. So if you have to sit back and look at your CV and say, what is the skill here? What is the impact of what I did? How many persons did I, work with, liaise with, manage, lead? And when you talked about keywords, let me tell you, some sites don't even have people review the CVs. Some sites have softwares do the sorting. So those keywords are actually important. And that's why I say a good way to help you is go to, if there's a job description, go and also pick out keywords from those job descriptions. Evaluated, led, organized, facilitated, contributed. There are certain keywords that make you stand out, managed. And then, you can adapt the keywords from the job description and then, put it in your CV so that if a software has been made to filter through and that software is going to filter on whether they are seeing those keywords, then that way you're safe, because actually some companies just use softwares filter through so many before they now, start having human beings look through them. So depending on where you're applying to, I would say that actually matters. But beyond just writing so many things, quantify and qualify what's the impact. And sometimes you see, I could have, maybe beyond here, I can maybe share a sample of a CV, a very summarized CV. I can share a sample of a CV with the EAG facilitator. So you see how somebody has summarized, the CV and the experience over years. So it gives you, because even somebody with 20 years experience can still have a one-pager CV, right? You just be, and then you can now identify the key skills that you demonstrated. Is your organizational skills, teamwork skills, negotiation skills, all of that. And like I said, objective is an optional part. It's not necessary. I'm not going to say it's a waste of space, but it's not, it may not be necessary to have on your CV. And there are other things that you can now use to summarize, and then you can, if they require one pager, you feed it to one pager. But if they don't have any restrictions, then at least keep it within 2 to 3, and then make sure that you put your relevant experience ahead. And then that relevant experience, you must have quantified it and you must have qualified it. And then and don't just pack all the certifications that you have got to go and get. Let it be relevant. Let it actually speak to the opportunity, and then leave out the excess there, leave out whatever excess. And some persons are even as creative as, maybe directing them to, for example, let's say they have a website or they have a page or something. Some persons can even put their LinkedIn, profile, LinkedIn links there or something. If they need any more information about you, they can equally go there. So, Karen, I hope I answered your question. If I did not, let me know.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. And then I just want to add a comment. So for those of us that have a lot of tables and figures and very nice animations on our CV. So Princess, you mentioned something about running it in a system. Sometimes those systems just try to pick out the information based on the content, the dates and things like that. So if you have all of those beautiful things, the important things might get missed out because of all the whole design going on in your CV. So it's good to be careful. I just thought to add that.
Let me also add to what you said. Sometimes persons put their pictures, except it's necessary. Don't bombard your CV with irrelevant things. It may not be necessary to put your picture, except they require it. Um, Also, there are some things that are optional sometimes, which could be, even your age and maybe your state of origin. sometimes it may be optional. So there are quite some things that you can still pull out of your CV and have more space. And then I would say here that don't do the work of the HR as to limit yourself to say, I don't have this experience, or I don't. You may not have that experience officially, but you may have been exposed to that in a way that that experience you have counts. So don't do the don't do the work of the HR already disqualifying yourself before you apply. So apply, and then if you get rejection, you keep moving. And then if you don't get rejection, then wonderful.
Thank you, Miss Chinyere. Uh, but since there is no other questions from
Chinasa, there's a question in the chat box.
okay, let me check. Can't see question. Read it out, Karen.
Okay, so the question says is from Malis. She says, "Thank you very much for your presentation, Miss. I have a question. My name is Malis. I hope I pronounce it well. And I'm at the end of petroleum petroleum engineering cycle. Can you give me some online graduate programs that I can do while still in school?"
Online graduate programs that you can do while you're still in school. Okay, so and just let me answer it this way. Even though I can recommend, I'd rather maybe we discuss beyond here, but back to what I said, it depends on what you want to do, um, you know, after school. Do you want to, you know, continue in the petroleum engineering line? Do you want to play in the energy space? Do you want to go into entrepreneurship? What exactly do you want to do? So based on the academic experience that you have in petroleum engineering, there are certain courses you would have done: drilling, reservoir production. So it's good to assess yourself, how much do you know in some of those topics that you have been taught. So you would see there are a lot of massive online courses, MOOCs, that I see some offered by IFP, some offered by Stanford. So, and on various topics. I'm proud to now I've taken one on reservoir geomechanics by Stanford. So assess yourself based on, those topics that you were taught in school. What do you have a full grasp of? Assess yourself even on softwares. What are the softwares that you know? Sometimes, though, it may not be necessary for you to be a very proficient user of a particular software to be considered for a recruitment opportunity. But just do that kind of assessment as to, this is what I've learned in school, these are the various topics, these are the topics that I have interest in, these are the topics that I have a full grasp of, these are the topics, that, I want to do more research in. And so some courses, I'm sure, I've seen that EAG even invites technical presentations and webinars. So avail yourself of whatever webinars could be provided by EAG. I volunteer with SP, so we also provide some courses, some trainings. And then, you can build up on what you learned in school. And like we talked about, so there are skills also. Some skills you can be taught and then you need to apply. So for example, communication skills, in as much as I'm doing this presentation, you could be the one doing the presentation on something that you know, right? So, you assess yourself: how good are my communication skills? How good are my presentation skills? How good are my report writing skills? I That was maybe 3 4 years back. I decided to, I knew that I like to write, but even much more I noticed that many of us who are in the technical space, we are not so great in very clear and concise writing. So I took up a writing course with Stanford. So just assess yourself as to the topics you have done in school, the skills you have, what you need to improve in. And that way you would have an eye for those opportunities. And then there are so many free online courses, and some of them could be paid, but don't just engage in courses for the sake of certification. you know Engage to know the knowledge and now apply that knowledge, and then you keep improving. So I'm open to discuss beyond this, but I don't want to just state this and this are what you do. It'll be best that you assess yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, where you need to improve on, and then that will be a good guiding point for you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Princess. So you can take it offline with her. Her name is Chinyere Princess Offor on LinkedIn. You can reach out to her. So Malisa says thank you very much. So just before we go, a few announcements. The session today has been very engaging, and if we recall, Princess spoke a couple of things that we should take note of. Aside from the highlight attitude, the steps to take, your skills, and you understanding the importance for you, buttressing on the steps to take, she made mention of LinkedIn, and in that the LinkedIn is a very good tool for virtual networking, given the current times we are in with the pandemic. So kindly confirm in the chat section if you can see my screen. Our next webinar happening on the 25th of November is on LinkedIn optimization, and we are going to be having Mayor Ko Oke, a project engineer with Adivin Group, to help to share insights on how to optimize our LinkedIn account. So typically, if you optimize your LinkedIn account very well, you can actually download your CV from your LinkedIn. I'm sure he'll talk about all of these things. If you want to include your LinkedIn in your CV, there is a particular way to customize the link so it's easy for the recruiter to access. He'll talk about all of this that day. So I hope you attend. Also, follow us on all our social media platforms for more information, more engaging session. Princess admonished us to get more active in EAGE activities, because you can also come across virtual internships on our WhatsApp group. There are information regarding internships, scholarship, postgraduate studies from time to time. So we hope you try to maximize these opportunities. So I think I see some things in the chat section. Okay, so Matthew has a question. How do you advise someone studying remote sensing and geoscience information systems clients comes to oil and gas industry? Okay, so Matthew, I think the first step, if you are trying to apply for a job and then it's not working out, you could go the route of an internship. So you can take most of the tips Princess have advised on the call today, on the section today, and try looking for internship to apply for, jobs to apply for, optimizing your CV or your cover letter. I think she shared lots of insightful tips today. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Princess, thank you for buying us extra 10 minutes. We finished right on time. Thank you very much. And I hope we all have a nice day. Thank you, Princess.
Mhm. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Sorry, before we go, sorry, I forgot to make one last announcement. So, if you want your CV and your cover letter to be reviewed by Princess, please, I'll be sending a mail with the recording of today's session to you. Just indicate as a reply to that mail, and we will link you up with her so she reviews your CV and your cover letter as well. Sorry, I missed that out. Yeah. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Karen. Bye.